What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here. It's time to bust out those instruments as it's time to continue on our coverage of 2024 D&D classes. We started this with the Barbarian last week, and I said we were going to continue forward covering all of the classes now that we have about a year's time with the game and see where we landed with our 2024 classes and kind of how I feel about them, having played in multiple campaigns and run campaigns for them for basically a whole year at this point. And we did the Barbarian last week, so now we're continuing on with the Bard. Also, stay tuned as later in the week we will also be doing a video covering the Tales of the Valiant Bard, and then you can kind of use your opportunity to compare the two. And we might be doing, after we're all said and done with this series, maybe a comparison about like top 10 things we liked about, D&D versus Tales of the Valiant, and then the inverse. I know, for example, I really like the Bard in Tales of the Valiant. But anyway, let's continue and dive right in here. If you like what I do here, consider subscribing to the channel. Now, we do actually need to go back and take a look at the start here because bards now only get simple weapon proficiencies in 2024. In 2014, they got simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. It has been simplified down to just simple weapons in 2014. Now, some subclasses may change that, but I thought that was worth noting. It is still choose any 3 skills of your choice, and then choose any 3 musical instruments. That also still remains the same. So one thing that you'll note is, again, Bardic Inspiration die remains the same. Cantrips remain the same. Prepared spells is a little bit different. If we were to look at our Bard here in 2014, it starts off at 4 spells known, maxing out at 22 here at level 20. We are starting again at 4 and then getting up to 22, but you'll notice the progression of spells per level slows down a little bit, whereas in 2014, we went from 20 spells known at level 17, jumping up to 22 for 18, 19, and 20. It is now a much slower progression, 20 or 19, 20, 21, 22. We're having less big jumps in our spells, but being pretty consistent all throughout here. We have a little bit of a jump here from 4 to 5. We go from 7 to 9. But for the most part, and here we go from 12 to 14, from level 8 to 9. And then actually we stagnate here on 13, 14 to 17, and then 18 here on 15, 16. But just thought it was worth mentioning there. Also, the way Bard's spells, this is prepared spells. Again, you're going to choose your spells at these given levels. They're called prepared. They kind of separated spells prepared, which was called spells known. Again, they just went for spells prepared across the board. You are still limited to you choose your spells, and then you can swap one out when you level up. That still remains the same, but there is a little bit of extra nuance for bards in 2024 we'll talk about. All right. Bardic Inspiration starts off as a D6. It is a bonus action to inspire another creature within 60 feet of yourself. That creature gains 1 Bardic Inspiration die. They can only not have more than 1 at a time. They use it when they fail a D20 test. And then they potentially turning it into a success. You get a number equal to your charisma modifier. You regain all uses when you finish a long rest. And again, it increases as it goes up. Now, here's something worth noting. It is, if we were to take a look at our 2014 Bard, Bardic Inspiration dies here state, once within the next 10 minutes, that creature can roll the die and add it to an ability check, saving throw, or attack roll. And then they use it. That's it. Now, previously, that's how it was previously. You have it for 10 minutes and you can choose to use it. Now, that's not the case. It's the next hour, so we got a little bit of extended time on that. And it's when the creature fails a roll, they can choose to do it. The creature can roll the Bardic Inspiration. Also, qualifier is the word can, right? If it's can, that means you can choose to use it or not. But they changed this rather than like, hey, I'm going to add my Bardic Inspiration die to a roll. It's specifically changed to qualify upon a failure, hopefully, ideally, doing what Bardic Inspiration was probably meant or more often used than anything. It's rare that you succeed on a roll and then you're trying to do even better, right? Like, oh, I rolled a 20 for this roll. 20 was good. Well, let me see if I can't go for a 26. There are some instances, very minor, that having a higher degree of success is present, but that's usually in reference to failure. And if I fail this, but I fail by 10 or more, then something bad happens. Not if I succeed and then succeed by 10 or more, or whatever the case may be. So this was changed to be usable upon a failure, which I like. So if I'm going to make an attack roll, the DM says, hey, you fail. Well, you know what? I'm going to try to expend my Bardic Inspiration die and see if I can't turn that failure into a success. So it having an hour time frame gives you more potential usage for it. And the fact that it's on a failure, I think helps it be a little bit easier, because I don't know about you in your games, but the amount of times that players at my table forget that they have Bardic Inspiration because it's like, okay, one time within the next 10 minutes I can use it. You're probably going to only trigger like, oh, I failed, let me try. This, I think, kind of frames it a little bit different to say like, oh, okay, I'll use it when I fail. Maybe it'll turn that failure into a success. So I like this change. Spellcasting, right? We say whenever you get a bar level, you can replace one of your cantrips with another cantrip of your choice. I don't know if that was always there, but that's a nice little quality of life there. And then again, we talked about preparing your spells. The number of spells on your list increases as you gain bard levels. If another bard feature gives you spells that you have always prepared, those spells don't count against the number of spells you can prepare with this feature. So, right, if your subclass gives you additional spells, those don't count. And whenever you gain a level in Bard, you can replace one spell on your list with another spell for which you have spell slots. And you can use your musical instrument as a spellcasting focus for your Bard spells. All right, expertise in 2 skills, once at level 2, again at level 9. Here it started at 3, and the second one came online at 10. So you're getting your expertise access a little bit earlier in that you get expertise starting at level 2 and then at 9 as opposed to 3 and 10. Jack of all trades is making a return here at half your proficiency bonus rounded down. Now, it's important to note that it says to any ability check you make that uses a skill proficiency you lack and doesn't otherwise use your proficiency bonus. For example, if you make an ability check and that athletics check and it lacks athletics proficiency, you can add half your proficiency bonus. Oh, they changed that back. Interesting. It previously used to say, when you add half your proficiency bonus to any ability check you make. Oh, here's the difference. Okay. That uses a skill proficiency you lack. That's the qualifier there. So no longer do bards get to add jack of all trades to their initiative, because initiative never can use your skill proficiency. So it is hard coded now to be your skill based checks. They could have just called it a skill check, but they meant to left with ability check there. But again, that uses your skill proficiency you lack. So unfortunately, again, no more adding this to your initiative rolls. Subclass at level 3, ability score improvements as usual. Font of inspiration, you regain all expended bardic inspirations when you finish a short or long rest. In addition, you can expend a spell slot, no action required, to regain a use of bardic inspiration. That I don't believe was an option previously. So now, hey, you can trade in your spell slots for bardic inspiration. I'm not sure how often that would be useful, but maybe if you have a lot of level 1 spell slots kicking around and you have a really cool usage for your inspiration from your subclass, that's a nice little quality of life. All right, Counter Charm, previously considered to be one of the most useless abilities in all of 2014 D&D, has now been updated to actually be useful. So, if you or a creature within 30 feet of you fails a saving throw against an effect that applies charmed or frightened condition, you could take a reaction to cause that save to be re-rolled. The new roll has advantage. This is huge because it has a lot of interesting functionality. So if you or a creature within 30 feet fails that saving throw, you have a reactionary use for charmed or frightened, and you re-roll that saving throw, and not only do you get to re-roll it, it is now also at advantage. Note that it also triggers on a fail, so it's not something you need to do preemptively like you had to do in 2014. It'll be useful when it's useful, right? When someone fails. So that previous roll, which could have been at disadvantage, in theory, you're re-rolling it, and that new roll has advantage, so, countering it out to be a straight roll, but also potentially, the way it's written, it could counteract disadvantage entirely. So, right, you cause that save to be re-rolled, the new roll has advantage. I think that, again, if you had disadvantage on the roll previously, this will now counter out to a straight roll. But either way, that is a very powerful shift and a very useful ability, which was pretty much unusable before. All right, magical secrets. Changes to magical secrets that will probably make some people a little annoyed. I like it. Let's go ahead and read. Okay, at level 10, you've learned secrets from various magical traditions. Whenever you reach a bard level, including this level, and the prepared spells number in the bard features table increases, you can choose any of your new prepared spells from the bard, cleric, druid, and wizard spell lists. The chosen spells count as bard spells for you. In addition, whenever you replace a spell prepared for this class, you can replace it for spells from those lists. Now, previously, if we were to look at magical secrets, it says choose 2 spells from any classes, including this one. There you go, right? This is saying something different. Now, one of the things they did was they did do things like remove Warlock and Paladin and Ranger from this list. The thought process being a lot of the spells for Warlock, Ranger, and Paladin are very hard-coded to be specific to those classes, especially I'm sure one of these changes is because Divine Smite is now considered a spell in 2024. They didn't want Warlocks to be able to pilfer that and have access to Divine Smite. So I get that. But as opposed to you at level 10 having to pick 2 spells that you want from any other spell list and then kind of almost be locked into those, from level 10 on, anytime you get a new spell or swap a spell with a level up, your entire list encompasses now Bard, Cleric, Druid, and Wizard. Every time. So if we were to go to level 10, okay, you have 15 spells prepared at level 10. Right? So from here all the way down here, each time you get an additional level, right here, it goes up by 1, here it goes up by 1, and so on. Or anytime you choose to swap out a spell on a level up, right? Because you can swap out a bard spell, with a different bard spell on the level up. You now have access to the entirety of the bard, cleric, druid, and wizard spell list. Those are the 4 largest full cast. They're the only full caster lists, really, and they're the largest ones. So you now have access to basically anything. So you could, at level 10, if you so choose, swap your stuff around to now become full-blown healer. You can choose spells like Simulacrum, all sorts of crazy spells as you continue to level up, which is pretty powerful. It also makes level 10 a massive shift in the way your bard is played by allowing you to essentially choose any spell you want. I'm a fan of this change, as opposed to you having to choose 2 spells at level 10 and 2 spells at level 17. You now have the rest of the list, and you could even swap your entire list as you level up to just kind of be almost all coded to be bard, druid, or whatever, and have, or cleric or whatever it might be. You could basically swap out most of those bard spells for another class if you wanted. At level 18 here, you get Superior Inspiration. When you roll initiative, you regain expended uses of Bardic Inspiration until you have 2, if you have fewer than that. So previously, this was a level 20 ability, which is when you roll initiative and have no uses, you get 1. That was your capstone previously. Now it is a level 18 ability, and if you roll initiative and you have less than 2, so you're going to start every initiative with at least 2 uses of Bardic Inspiration, which is pretty nice. You get your Epic Boon at 19, like everybody does, and then you get this brand new, super-powered level 20 ability. You always have Power Word Heal and Power Word Kill prepared, so that will be in addition to this 22 spells you already have, right? Those will be in addition to that. And whenever you cast either one of those spells, you can target a second creature with it if that creature is within 10 feet of the first target. Let me remind you that Power Word Heal is the target gets all of their hit points back, and they remove the charm, frighten, paralyze, poison, or stun condition it ends, and if they're prone, they get to stand up. Whereas Power Word Kill is if they have 100 hit points or less, they immediately die, no saving throw. And even if they do have more than 100 hit points, they're going to take a flat 12d12 psychic damage. Again, no saving throw. At level 20, you get to effectively double your usage of a 9th level spell as long as the 2 targets are within 10 feet of each other. So when you cast either spell, you can target a second creature with it. So again, double massive heal to your party, double potential kill to 2 enemies. Again, as effectively giving you, again, that second 9th level spell as your 20th level capstone. This, in fact, is how you do a capstone ability. First subclass here is the College of Dance. This is a brand new subclass, which effectively makes your bard a monk, more or less. So you get level 3, you get dazzling footwork. You have advantage on any charisma performance check that involves dancing. A nice little quality of life there. Your base AC is 10 plus your dex plus your charisma modifier, giving you an AC calculation for unarmed defense. When you use a Bardic Inspiration die as part of an action, a bonus action, or a reaction, you can make one unarmed strike as part of that bonus action, or reaction. So that is pretty nice, right? I can give out Bardic Inspiration as a bonus action. So not only can I do whatever I'm going to do as my action, and then I could say, hey, buddy, I'm going to help you out, give you a Bardic Inspiration die, and then also turn and punch this other person as part of that same bonus action. If I have a reaction-based usage of my Bardic Inspiration, I can reaction, help an ally out, and then also punch somebody in the face. And then you have Bardic Damage. You can use Dexterity instead of Strength for your unarmed strikes, which is huge if you're going to be an unarmed fighter. You can basically ditch Strength and go focus on your Dexterity, similar to a monk. When you deal damage with an unarmed strike, you can deal bludgeoning damage equal to a roll of your Bardic Inspiration die, plus your Dexterity modifier instead of the strike's normal damage. This is huge because normally you're going to be hard-coded to that 1 plus your Dexterity modifier. This effectively gives you access to the monk's Bardic, unarmed strike die. You're going to start here at a D6. You're going to cap out at a D12. So that's pretty nice. Just a nice little quality of life. You have basically one punch and then potentially a bonus action punch equal to the amount of Bardic Inspiration usage that you have, which is pretty nice. You don't have any other real usages to spend your Bardic Inspiration die as a reaction from any of these other abilities from the base class. So you're effectively going to be left using Bardic Inspiration die to give it to an ally to then hit them as a bonus action. But that is a dual purpose. You're not competing against your bonus action usage. All right, at level 6, you get Inspiring Movement. When an enemy you can see ends its turn within 5 feet of you, you can take a reaction and expend one of your Bardic Inspiration die to move up to half your speed. Then one ally of your choice within 30 feet can also move up to half their speed using their reaction. None of this movement's features provokes attacks of opportunity. So you now have a reactionary version of using your Bardic Inspiration. So when an enemy you can see ends its turn within 5 feet of you, you can now use your reaction to spend a Bardic Inspiration die. You can then, as part of spending that Bardic Inspiration die, punch that enemy that just ended its turn next to you, and then move half of your movement speed away without provoking his attacks of opportunity, also giving an ally within 30 feet the opportunity to use half of their movement speed, not provoking attacks of opportunity. So who knows how this has infinite uses in the situation, right? Somebody moves in, ends their turn next to me, I can hit them and move away, and then maybe reposition my Barbarian to come in to be ready to go for their turn. Lots of good usage there. All right, Tandem Footwork. When you roll initiative, you can expend one use of your Bardic Inspiration die if you don't have the incapacitated condition. When you do so, roll your Bardic Inspiration die, and each ally within 30 feet of you also gets that roll bonus to their initiative number. So that's pretty good. It's just an auto, basically, way to bump up everybody in the initiative order. Solid. And then lastly, 14, Leading Evasion. When you are subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw to take only half damage, you instead take no damage if you succeed on the saving throw and half damage if you fail, basically giving you the rogue's initiative feature. If any creatures within 5 feet of you are making the same dexterity saving throw, they share that benefit. That is insane. You have access to the rogue or the monk's evasion ability, and you can share it with anybody within 5 feet of you. This is exceptionally powerful. The only thing that's kind of a bummer is you don't have access to multiple attacks. But it's already kind of stepping on the toes of the monk to some degree, right? They did a good job from reining things back in from where it was kind of all over the place in the Unearthed Arcana, but you get the unarmored defense. That's great. You get the bonus action usage. You don't have any action usage of your Bardic Inspiration, which is interesting that they put this in here as part of an action, bonus action, or reaction. So unfortunately, you don't have any means of using it as an action, but that's fine. You can use as a bonus action to grant it to an ally and then also get a chance to make a freebie punch if you need to, which allows you to help your ally and do your bard thing. And this is something I really like that I think we probably would see return potentially to some of the other subclasses that had pure bonus action uses, like the Whispers Bard, for example, had the opportunity to use their Bardic Inspiration as like expend their Bardic Inspiration to damage an enemy or something like that, to do extra damage with their Psychic Blades ability. And people always argued that that takes away the Bard doing the Bard thing, because now I can't help my allies if I'm also using it to help myself. Well, this kind of seeing here with Agile Strikes does a pretty good job of saying, hey, I can help you and then also help myself get the attack and then help an ally. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that sort of cycle increase where everybody gets both. And then again, we get to punch like a monk. So we still have one attack and then maybe a bonus action attack on a turn, which is fine. But I would have loved to seen them get 2 attacks, but that's okay by me. They get 1 attack as an action, 1 attack as a bonus action, and then potentially a reactionary attack as well if they were to use inspiring movement. Again, tandem footwork is a nice little benefit, and then leading evasion is extremely powerful. Okay, College of Glamour Bard. Now, this is a returning version of a subclass that we had from, I believe, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. We'll jump over here. That's Glamour. Here we go. All right, you always have Charm person, and Mirror Image prepared. So right out the gate, on top of that whole list of Bard stuff, plus the opportunities for later levels to choose other spell lists, you have Charm person and Mirror Image on your list permanently outside of that, which is great. In addition, immediately after you cast an enchantment or illusion spell, using a spell slot, important distinction there, you can cause a creature you can see within 60 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, that creature is either charmed or frightened, your choice, for 1 minute. They can repeat that save at the end of their turns during the effect, ending the effect on it in a success, rather. Once you use this benefit, you can't do it until you finish a long rest. You can also restore this by expending a use of your Bardic Inspiration. So what's really nice about this is, in addition, after you cast an enchantment or illusion spell, you can cause a creature you can see within 60 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw. So this effectively can give you a ton of very useful things. So you could, for example, cast Mirror Image on yourself, which Mirror Image is an illusion spell. So I'm going to boost my defenses, boom, Mirror Image, and I could pick this person over here. Hey, you're charmed or frightened if they fail that saving throw, which is pretty nice. Because now I could do self buffs. I could hide myself. I could cast invisibility, right? And then charm or frighten somebody as part of that same turn. Or I could effectively almost get a double charm person, right? Charm person is an enchantment spell, which I will always have prepared. I could charm you, cast charm person, or maybe even upcast it, cast a couple of people. And then as my freebie from my class feature, hey, you are also charmed, and get a little bit of almost like a twin spell action there by getting an extra person in there. Granted, it is once per long rest for that ability, but it is a nice it's a freebie thing. You're never going to not use this, especially if you choose to, build your spells around the capability of doing charm person and mirror image. You have, or any other enchantment and illusion spells. You have that extra benefit there. That's just a fun thing you can do at least once per long rest. This is kind of in addition to, or sort of above, because we had the Mantle of Inspiration here, which is when you spend your Bardic Inspiration, you can choose a number of creatures. Oh, no, actually, here it is, Enthralling Performance. It was previously, if you spend at least a minute performing, at the end of the performance, choose a number of humanoids within 60 feet of you that watched equal to your Charisma modifier. They would make a spell save or be charmed by you. And then it had specifics here for the charm. Instead of having to make you do this for a whole minute and then have a limit, it's just in addition to, as like a triggers off of you casting this enchantment or illusion spell. I actually like this better. I think it's more useful, especially more useful in combat, whereas the other one, you basically had to do it outside of combat to make that performance. So, and then we can go back and compare, but here is Mantle of Inspiration here, also at level 3. As a bonus action, expend a use of your Bardic Inspiration die. When you do so, choose a number of creatures within 60 feet up to your Charisma modifier. Each of those creatures gets temporary hit points equal to twice the number rolled on the Bardic Inspiration die and can use its reaction to move up to its speed without provoking attacks of opportunity. Here, you would spend that, choose a number of creatures within 60 feet, which is still the case. Each of them got 5 temporary hit points, and then could move up to their movement as a reaction without provoking attacks of opportunity. The number of temporary hit points would increase to 8 at level 5, 11 at level 10, and 14 at level 15. Now, instead of a static number, you're rolling your Bardic Inspiration die twice. So we're starting out here at level 3, rolling 2d6, potentially locking in 12 if you happen to roll very well, which means you are basically stronger than the level 10 ability. If you were to roll maximum, meaning that at level 17, you could potentially be granting everybody 24 temporary hit points, which is pretty nuts. So I like this change as well. I think this is better. Gives you a little, you feel like you're actually expending the die, right? Because you're expending it and then you get to roll it. All right, level 6, you get Mantle of Majesty. You always have the command spell prepared. Again, another freebie spell prepared. Command is also an enchantment spell, so it can tie into Beguiling Magic. As a bonus action, you can cast Command without expending a spell slot and take on the Unearthly Appearance for 1 minute and until your concentration ends. During this time, you can cast Command as a bonus action without expending a spell slot. Any creature charmed by you automatically fails its saving throw against the command you cast using with this feature. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, or you can use it by expending a level 3+ spell again. So, again, this is a very powerful change to command. Command is normally an action to cast, and you have a bunch of different options. Any one-word command, right? Approach, drop, flee, grovel, halt are some of the options they give you here. You are able to, first of all, if you would wish, you still have the ability to cast it as normal. You also now here can cast it as a bonus action without expending a spell slot. And that is very important because of the change to the rules in 2024. 2024 rules state you can only cast one spell on your turn using a spell slot. You could here, as a bard, a Glamour bard, as a bonus action cast command without expending a spell slot. Fine. That means I can still use my action to cast the spell using a spell slot, whatever that spell might be. As long as it's not concentration, it doesn't interact with my bonus action command, which means every subsequent turn for a minute, as long as I concentrate on command, I can continue to dual sling spells every turn by expending a bonus action to command this person to do something, action spell over here, or however I want to do it. I could do that every turn for a minute, effectively doubling my spell economy here. And then again, if you happen to have charmed those creatures, you also get the benefit of having them automatically fail the saving throw against your command. Remember that command itself is an illusion or an enchantment spell, so you could potentially also be doubling up on this with your Bardic Inspiration die to do Beguiling Magic. So I could bonus action command you, then I can, hey, hit you up, now you're charmed, and then I can next turn hit you, you automatically fail the command because you're charmed. There's a lot of cool synergy you can do within this class that I very much like. So this is, I think, a lot better than Mantle of Majesty previously, which was essentially the same kind of a thing where you could command without expending a spell slot for 1 minute. No, I guess it was actually pretty much the same. Any creature charmed by you automatically fails a saving throw. So the only kind of main thing they did for it was give it the opportunity to be recast by expending a level 3+ spell slot. And then lastly here we have Unbreakable Majesty. As a bonus action, you can assume a majestic presence for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. For the duration, whenever a creature hits you with an attack roll for the first time on a turn, they must succeed on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC, or the attack misses as the creature recoils from your majesty. This is once per short or long rest. Basically giving you a nice defensive, almost like sanctuary-like ability, but it is not stopped if you damage them. Yeah, they must make a charisma saving throw. On a failure, it can't take an attack on this turn, but it must choose a new target. On a successful save, it can't attack you on this turn, but it has disadvantage on any saving throw it makes against your spell save DC. Here it is, whenever they attack you for the first time on a turn, they must succeed on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC. The attack misses as they... Okay, so here, it's actually, this is a little bit of a nerf, right? So it's only the first time they attack you on a turn. So if they have multiple attacks on a turn, they can still hit, they have to make it for the first save, then they can continue to make it as the secondary save if they so choose. Back in 2014, it was much stronger. It's whenever they try to attack you, they must make a charisma save. On a failure, it can attack you on this turn, because it was still the first time it tries to attack you. But if it failed, it can't attack you on this turn, and it must choose a new target. Here, it doesn't have the attack, just misses as it recoils from your majesty. This has the opportunity that it would have to choose a new target. I guess in theory, nothing stopped this from targeting another enemy because it still had to choose a new target. But then even here, if it succeeded, it had disadvantage on any saving throw it makes against your spells until the end of its next turn. I assume they removed this for streamlining purposes so people wouldn't have to remember that. That was quite a bit stronger, honestly, so it did get a little bit of a nerf. But remember that Unbreakable Majesty is not concentration. So you could, in theory, Unbreakable Majesty, and then if you have the opportunity to also on a subsequent turn cast Mantle of Majesty, you could be slinging all of these things all at the same time, allowing your party to continue to move around as, there's lots of interesting here. The biggest competition for you is going to be what bonus action you're going to use, because Mantle of Inspiration can't work with Mantle of Majesty on the same turn as Unbreakable Majesty. They're all bonus actions. You could effectively get all three up and running depending on how you want to do that on a given turn. But I do think I like the synergy of how a lot of this works together. I just kind of, again, Unbreakable Majesty significantly stronger back in 2014. All right, College of Lore Bard. This is a lot of people's favorite class. It is one of the ones that I played, one of the first classes I played in D&D 5e. Also was one of the first multi-classes I ever did was into Lore Bard. So you still get your 3 extra bonus skill proficiencies at level 3. And then Cutting Words, right? When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes a damage roll or succeeds on an ability check or attack roll, you can take a reaction to expend a Bardic Inspiration die, roll that die, and subtract the number from the creature's roll, reducing the damage or potentially turning the success into a failure. This, if we take a look at Cutting Words here, again, same thing, 60 feet, attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. You can reduce it by that amount. You choose to use this feature after the creature makes its roll, but the DM determines whether the attack was a success or failure before the creature rolls damage. And it also used to not work if they couldn't hear you or if they were immune to charm. That doesn't. It is now when a creature can see you, the creature that you can see within 60 feet. So it is when they make a damage roll or succeeds on an ability check or attack roll. So if they miss, you're not going to waste your Bardic Inspiration. So it's when they actually succeed on that ability check or saving throw, it triggers you to possibly be able to use this, turning that success into a failure, which is nice. And then again, if they choose to roll the damage roll, you can reduce the potential damage from it. There is also no longer any issue with creatures being immune to charm or not being able to understand you. As long as you can see them, you can Cutting Words them. Now, we used to have additional magical secrets or something like that. It's now been changed to level 6 magical discoveries. Learn 2 spells of your choice. These spells can come from the cleric, druid, or wizard spell or any combination thereof. A spell you choose must be a cantrip or a spell for which you have spell slots, as shown in the bard's features. You can always have the chosen spells prepared, and whenever you gain a bard level, you can replace one with another spell that meets the requirements. So again, a lot of people would use this to do things like get access to Find Steed, to get access to Eldritch Blast. It kind of falls more in line with the updated magical secrets for the Bard, where you're going to choose 2 spells from the Cleric, Druid, or Wizard list. They count as Bard spells for you. They also can be cantrips. And then again, they're always prepared for you in addition to that whole long list of Bard spells we talked about at the beginning in the table. These are in addition to that. And then again, whenever you choose to replace one of these spells, you can replace them with a different spell that fits on the Cleric, Druid, or Wizard list beyond these if you want to swap them out for a higher level spell at a different point. And then lastly, Peerless Skill. When you make an ability check or attack roll and fail, you can use a Bardic Inspiration die, roll that die, and add it to the d20, potentially turning it into a success. On a failure, the Bardic Inspiration die isn't expended. This is nice. It was you choose to roll after you roll the die, but before the DM tells you whether it's a success or failure. That's gone. It's only triggered on a failure. So you're not going to expend this and waste it. If you fail, go ahead and roll it. See if it turns into a success. If it turns into a success, great. You expend the Bardic Inspiration die. If you still fail, you don't spend the die, which is actually a really nice quality of life. It's saving you that failure protection there, which I really like. And lastly, College of Valor, something that I think that got a very big glow up here. So, first of all, you can use your wit to turn the tide of battle, combat inspiration. When a creature is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to roll your bardic inspiration die to add the number rolled to its AC, potentially causing that attack to miss. Or offense, immediately after the creature hits an attack with an attack roll, the creature can roll the bardic inspiration die and add the number rolled to the attack's damage against the target. If we were to go here and look at Valor, right? You used to get all, I think you might still get these, but combat inspiration, a creature that has a bardic inspiration die from you can roll that number and add the roll to a weapon damage roll it just made. Alternatively, when an attack roll is made against a creature, it can use its reaction to roll the bardic inspiration die and add the number rolled to its AC against that attack. But it says after knowing whether it hits or misses. So they've removed a lot of that kind of wonky nuance. So, and here it says, again, a creature that has a bardic inspiration die from you, as I said, can use their reaction when they're hit to possibly turn it into a miss. So no longer do they need to kind of gamble on whether it's going to be useful. You give them the bardic inspiration die, they have it. If they're going to get hit by an attack roll, they can choose to roll it and possibly increase their AC, getting around that, which is a nice improvement. Or they can choose to add it after they hit with an attack roll. Again, because it's a die, you could choose to use this and save it for your usage on a crit to increase that damage by increasing the dice there as well. You also get martial training. You gain proficiency with martial weapons and training with medium armor and shields. In addition, you can use a simpler martial weapon as a spellcasting focus to cast spells from your bard spell list. That's a very nice additional quality of life there that they added, giving you the weapon as a spellcasting focus, because you also have the capability of using shields now. Extra attack at level 6. You can take attack twice when you take the attack action on your turn. More importantly, in addition, when you can cast one of your cantrips that has a casting time of an action in place of one of those attacks. This is what we saw them make the update to the Blade Singer. So now you can still have access to your cantrip and then also an attack roll if you so choose. If you're living in a world where people are playing with things like Booming Blade or Green Flame Blade, this is usually the choice, because then you can make that attack, get the extra damage from that spell on the first attack, and then follow up with this. Also, you have access to True Strike. This is huge for you because True Strike is just generally in a damage improvement now in 2024. So True Strike followed up by Singular Attack. Very nice amount of damage for you as a melee-based bard in this instance. Again, nothing to say you couldn't do this with ranged weapons as well. So, and then lastly here, level 14 Battle Magic. After you cast a spell that has a casting time of an action, you can make one weapon attack with a weapon as a bonus action. I believe that's pretty much the same. When you use your action to cast a bard spell, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. So I think I like the clarification on combat inspiration quite a bit there, allowing you to kind of not have to worry about wasting it. It's turning a potential hit against you into a miss with the way defense is used here, or potentially adding extra damage onto a hit, maybe saving it for a crit if need be. Spellcasting focus here, using a weapon, and then again, the addition of using a cantrip as one of your attacks. So all in all, great updates. I think the College of Lore Bard got a massive glow up in a lot of its clarifications there. Lore Bard, pretty much the same overall, a little bit changed to magical discoveries, but that fits the overall changes to the base Bard. Peerless Skill got a huge update in the feature of not blowing the die on a failure, and then also, again, it only triggers on a failure. I gotta say, I like the changes to the Bard in 2024. I think a lot of them I think College of Glamour also got some great updates. And again, I get like College of Dance is a unique option there, and it doesn't really step too much on the toes of the monk because you're not going to be making a ton of attacks. You're not doing 3 attacks every turn. You can maybe do 2, but you're also getting utility out of it. And I think the base Bard got a lot of really nice updates to it as well. The changes to Bardic Inspiration, working on failures, I think is a big, nice improvement here. Expertise coming online earlier. Font of Inspiration, allowing you to swap spells for inspiration is nice. Counter Charm being a useful spell or useful ability now. Magical Secrets opening up the entire, basically, spell list for you. And the level 20 capstone. Fantastic. I never really had much interest in playing Glamour Bard before, but honestly, any 4 of these subclasses would be very interesting for me to play. Probably Dance Bard is very interesting to me because it's new, but I'm not a dancer. I don't know if I could make a lot of, like, I don't know how I could get into that character, right? Like, my head goes to, like, ballet or something like that, but, like, I don't know. I don't know enough about that I feel like I could actively role play it in a way that makes it about dance. Like, I can mechanically play it very well, but I don't know if I could get into the character enough for me. But again, Lore Bard I think is great, and then I'm also curious to try Valor because Valor always kind of felt like subpar to me, and I like a lot of these changes here. The level 6 ability gives it a lot of extra potential damage bonus there as well. And yeah, I mean, but also like I said, Glamour being able to sling that dual spells and the bonus action command and an action spell, pretty nice. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, what your thoughts are on the 2024 Bard. Be on the lookout. Tomorrow we will release a video on the Tales of the Valiant Bard, and we can see some of the extra stuff that they did. They really added back Bardic Performance, which is something I really like. So if you're familiar with that from older editions, be on the lookout for that coming to the Tales of the Valiant Bard. So anyway, by the way, Tales of the Valiant does have their Kickstarter out, but either way, for Player's Guide too. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.